Hey there, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Shreya and you're watching the Stitch by Shreya knitting podcast. So if you're new here, welcome. I tend to post every 4 weeks or so. My first 2 episodes were very far apart. However, now that the busy season of my work is over, I'm hoping to get into more of a regular cadence with uploading. So hopefully that's like once a month, but I'm not gonna hold myself to that standard if work starts to get busy again, because this should just be for fun. So today I'm on here, I'm going to be talking about a couple of finished objects, some works in progress, some upcoming plans, and then just a little bit of life at the end. So let's go ahead and get started with the finished objects. So my first finished object is the tank that I'm wearing underneath this button down. This is the mini mock neck by Jessie Maed Designs. And this one in particular, I knit a size 4. The armhole detail is really what gets a lot of people. So this one hugs my underarm. It's not too deep like some of the other tester or other versions that I saw on the project page. Mine is pretty tight, like negative ease wise, but it's not like uncomfortable at all to wear. I knit this using through the Wardrobe Yarn Co. I used Rapunzel colorway, which if you looked at my previous, I think it was my last episode, I talked about my Lento sweater that I had finished, and I used the same yarn in my Lento sweater. So I had ordered 3 skeins of the yarn, I used 2 in my Lento, and I had 1 left over. So I used that 1 skein for about like this much. So from my neckband all the way to like right under my bust. And then I started fading in another one of her colorways from the Grimm collection. So she had done 3 colorways that kind of all worked as a fade together if you wanted to. So the first one was Goose Girl, then it was Rapunzel, and then it was Sleeping Beauty. So Rapunzel is like the most neutral of all the colorways. It has like yellow, pink with like a little bit of brown speckling throughout. And Goose Girl is a little bit more like soft mint green with a little bit of this same like beigey yellow color with like just a hint of pink here and there. So I did try to do this as a fade, and you'll see the fade kind of going more towards the bottom. So what I did was I did like 4 rows of Rapunzel, 1 row of Goose Girl, and then I did that until I had like 15 grams left, and then I did 3 rows, 2 rows, and then I did 2 rows, 3 rows, 1 row, 4 row, and then finally I finished Rapunzel, and I just continued going with the Goose Girl collection or color. So I think that worked out really well. I could have probably still lengthened my mini mock neck a little bit more. I did add like I think 3 inches to the body, maybe more. I tend to have to always add length to Jessie Maed's patterns because she has a shorter torso, and I think she does do a lot more like crops. But when I tried on my mini mock neck with the recommended length, it like barely covered my bust. So I was like, yeah, we're gonna keep going. I'm not sure I'm gonna want to wear this if it's super cropped anyways. So I just went until the tank hit like my belly button, and then I bound off, and that was it. If I had to make it again, I would probably knit the same size, but maybe... So I was thinking about the modifications I wanted to make on this, and I think one of them was that I wanted to make the shoulder width a little bit bigger. So right now, like my bra strap has a tendency to poke in and out of this one. And what I would want to do is just make it maybe like that much bigger. And that way it would just cover up any bra strap or anything that I had. And then the second thing I would want to do is maybe just have a little bit more ease. I know it's intended to be a negative ease pattern, but I think it would be nice to just have slightly, like maybe no ease, not even negative ease, just like no ease. And I think that might also make this a little bit more comfortable. So maybe that just means sizing up. I didn't gauge swatch for this pattern, so I think that has an impact on like how much negative ease there is, because I did notice I had more stitches per 4 inches than the gauge did. So, and I thought that would like block out a little bit, and it kind of did, but then with negative ease, it kind of shrinks back in when you put it on your body. So that's okay. It's a learning experience, and it's a great 2 skein project. So even if I make all those adjustments next time, I'm still going to be able to make it with 2 skeins. And yeah, so I think I said this, but I knit the size 4. I lengthened the body about like 3 to 4 inches. I want to say 4 inches. And that's about it. I have about, I want to say I have like 65 grams of the Goose Girl colorway still. So that's enough for a pair of socks for me, or a pair of socks for my husband, or, you know, any person that wants socks, or I'm going to throw it into like a scrappy blanket one day. But 65 grams is a lot. Like that's a whole other project I could make out of it. And I love that colorway. It's so pretty. So maybe you'll see that sometime soon because it's caked up and ready to go. I don't know. My impulses run wild. So now I'm going to talk about my next FO, which is a pair of socks. I don't know why it took me so long to say that. It's a pair of socks. So this one, I think I had 1 sock done in the last episode, and now I have this one done. So this is the sock week socks, as in I started the pair during sock week, and I finished 1 sock and like this much of the second sock. And then sometime last week, I just like buckled down and I was like, I'm gonna finish it. So I did. I finished it, and they feel great. Knitting with 2-ply 80/20 superwash merino nylon is a very enjoyable experience for me. I say that because like as I'm touching the sock, it's just so plush and so luxurious, and it feels so lovely. And I also feel like it took less time for me to get the length in my foot. Now, I don't know why that is, because the number of rows I did for this versus my other socks is not like vastly different by any means. I think this one, my foot was 67 rows, and usually my foot tends to be like 70 to 75. But I think something about like how plump it is makes the row gauge a little bit bigger. So the yarn I use for this is Junk Yarn. It was one of her Sailor Moon sock club sets from 2021. I believe this is like Chibiusa. I don't know. I don't remember. It's like Chibiusa and Sailor something. Sailor Cosmos. Yeah. Sailor Cosmos and Chibiusa. That was the sock set. I really like this yarn. I really like the base. I'm excited to wear this, and this kind of like kicked off my I'm ready and excited to make socks mojo again. That being said, I have another sock whip that is like just languishing right now. I have 2 sock whips that are languishing, but they're not vanilla socks. They have like some pattern on them, so that's why they're languishing. Hopefully I'll get back to those eventually. I'm just in a phase of life where I'm very impulsive with what I'm working on, and that should not be a surprise to anyone. I have said a couple times now that I'm like done signing up for test knits, and then what do? I sign up for more test knits, and my next project is another test knit. However, this test knit, I knew I'd be able to finish very fast because you didn't even see this test knit last episode. So this little guy is a passport pullover. So my friend Hannah Graham, she does test knits, or she does designs for like the kids in your life or the babies in your life. So she's a children's knitwear designer. That is what I was trying to say. So she designed this beautiful saddle shoulder pattern for kids. I made the 6-month size. I still have some ends and stuff peeking out. I've woven everything, but I was waiting for the sweater to finish blocking before I cut all the ends fully. So this was knit with 2 strands of fingering weight held together. So the red colorway is Sorella Hot Toddy and Explorer Knits and Fibers Redwoods held together. So I'll show you the colors. I think I can tell you which one is which, if I remember correctly. So I believe the slightly brown one, it's red, but it has like a brown tinge to it. This one is Redwoods by Explorer Knits. Oh, there it went. And this one is Hot Toddy by Sorella. So the Hot Toddy colorway, I would say, it's still a red color, but I think it has like a little bit more of a true red. Look at me trying to explain colors. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I just would say that the main difference between the two colors is that Redwoods has more brown in it, and the Sorella one is like slightly warmer. That's my only takeaway on the colors. I thought they worked well enough together because they look like, honestly, when I'm looking at this sweater, you can kind of see some like variation, but they work so well together that you wouldn't notice any like pooling or anything like that, especially because it's a tonal. Now for the contrast stripes, I used some mini skeins. I did use a couple different ones. So on the body, I used a kind of cream colored mini skein that I had. It was from Sorella's Spring Tonals. And then when I was doing the bind off, I had kind of run out of that cream color. So I added in this like white mini skein that I had. It's not bare, but it's like a cool white. And it's falling apart. Why are you like this? I literally just wound this up from the looser cake it was, but I think I just need to ball it up after this. So the sleeves are that more white color, and then the body is a more cream color. It's not really noticeable. They're both really pretty, and I'm really excited for the little one who's going to be getting this. That little one is not born yet, so when they're born, I will make sure I gift this to them. So yeah, that is my passport pullover. The fun thing about this is that I cast it on Monday night, and I finished everything but one sleeve and the neckband by Tuesday night. And then Wednesday morning, I finished the neckband and the other sleeve. So this was like almost less than 24 hours. Well, that was not math. It was like less than 36 hours of a project, basically. So that was really exciting. The good thing about this project is that it is on bigger needles. I think it was size 8 needles or size 6 needles. I can't remember right now. And it technically could go for like a heavy worsted Aran weight, but holding fingering double really helped me meet gauge, and it helped me get a little bit of stash out because I did not have plans for that originally. And it's just so cute. Baby knits are so adorable, and they work up so quickly that it's kind of like, I want to make another one. I want to make another one, just because all the little people in my life need to receive the same love that I give myself. So yeah, that's this. And it's still a little bit damp because I have been sticking it on blocking mats all day. Oh, one thing I did want to mention about the passport pullover is that on one sleeve I used DPNs to do the sleeve, and on the other sleeve I did magic loop slash traveling loop. And I realized that I hate DPNs. I find them to be the fiddliest thing ever. I really just prefer the flexibility of having a cord. So the magic loop sleeve went by like twice as fast than the DPN sleeve. And I have like a set that I bought from Amazon, like right when I started knitting, of these bamboo DPNs, and I never use them. I think I'm just gonna get rid of them because the only thing I use DPNs for are for like heels and toes, and that's only when I'm knitting with the 9-inch circular for socks. So I like literally, this was like an experience with DPNs. I was like, never gonna knit with you ever again. I hate you. And we're enemies. So yeah, that's my experience with DPNs. I know Probably not the most polarizing take. I think more people dislike DPNs than like them, but it was a really painful experience. I'm not even gonna lie. And then also with all the striping going on in that sweater, I felt like I made the mistake of like cutting my stripes after I finished them instead of just like carrying the yarn up. So I did that on my first sleeve. I cut the stripes, or I cut the yarn when I was done with the stripe. And then on the second sleeve, I just carried the yarn up and it was just like infinitely faster. So I don't know why I was like torturing myself like this, but in the next one that I inevitably make, I will definitely make my life easier on myself and just carry the yarn up. I think that's it for my FOs. So 3 FOs, not bad. Pretty impressed that I managed to get that all done. And my works in progress list is also like almost the same as last time, but I got a lot of work done on all of them. And I feel like someone out there should be proud of me for actually focusing and finishing some things. I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick sip of water. Here's your time to do so as well. Yum. Okay. Moving on to my works in progress. I housed my next work in progress in this project bag that I made. And if you look from far away, it looks really lovely, really beautiful. And if you look close up, you'll find all the mistakes. I like had the urge sometime in June, like to just make my own project bag. I think I was very inspired by Edible Thoughts Makes, who makes like a new project bag every single month. And I was like, I have all this quilting scrap. I have all this like, or not scrap, quilting soft corners, fat corners. I had all these fat corners in my sewing bin. I have like a little plastic bin that has like sewing fabric and stuff. So I found these two. I thought that they complemented each other kind of well. My friend Jack said it's giving picnic, 4th of July. And I was like, sure, that's what I'm going for. I even managed to do a tab. Do not look at it though. It's really ugly. I broke a needle doing it because I sewed over the zipper and the needle broke. Because I'm smart, right? Because I'm really good at sewing. I'm not, I'm horrible. And then on the bottom, I was supposed to leave a hole in the lining, but I left a hole in the main fabric. So when I had to close it up, I had to close it up on the outside. And then on the inside, I didn't even like, I have interfacing on one side correctly. So I have this like light blue cloth and the interfacing is on the inside. But on the other side, for some reason, the interfacing is facing out. So I don't know. Needless to say, I don't think I would recommend this particular pattern that I used to sew this bag because I was just confused the whole time. And I think installing zippers is probably one of the most confusing things I've ever done. So if I were to make like another project bag, I would probably just use one with a drawstring. And I tend to like those anyways because when I'm walking around, I just hang the drawstring off of my hand. But regardless, it was a success because I made something. And it is housing my Satsuki pullover by Sari Nordland. So this has been a long-standing work in progress of mine, but you will see that I've actually finished and bound off the body, and I picked up for a sleeve, and I got like, I think about half a sleeve done. So I'm so happy with how this is turning out. The length of the body, it goes to like my waistband a little bit. But I typically wear high-waisted pants, but I still like my sweaters to be a little bit on the longer side. So the body, it's like twisted rib, about 2 inches, and I used Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. I had a whole fiasco with the neckband. I think I talked about it last time, but I did a tubular bind off. It was too tight. It didn't go over anyone's head. So then I just quickly pivoted and I did the Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, which I don't hate. It doesn't look that bad. And I just did the same thing for the body. It might flare out. I don't care. I have decided to do that and I'm sticking with it. Now I'm on the sleeve. This is gonna take a while because I think that I'm not gonna wear this for a long time. And the reason being is that it is hot. It's so hot and I just like don't have the urge to like work on this right now. The yarn itself is a Corriedale fiber. So this is John Arbon Textiles Yarnadelic Sport, and it's 100% Corriedale. And when I'm feeling this, it's not really lightweight. Like, even though it's a sport weight garment, it feels really thick, heavy, and like it's going to be like keeping the heat in a lot. And right now it's like 80 to 90 to 95 degrees every single day. So I work on this like sporadically when I just feel like doing only stockinette, because I just have to do like stockinette until I get to my cuff, and then I just do some rapid decreases and then I continue and do the cuff. So I'm like, you know what, like this will get done when it gets done. I'm not too stressed about it because the new deadline that me and my friend Sharon have set for this is fall. And fall ends at the end of November or something. So I have until then to finish this. And yeah, there's not much else to say about this. Satsuki, the pattern is in an Amirisu episode, an Amirisu magazine on film and TV, and it's based off of My Neighbor Totoro. And I think I added 2 inches to the body compared to the recommended length of the pattern. That's fine. I add length to every single thing that I knit. It's just a part of my habits now. It's a part of like what I do when I have to buy yarn for projects. I always assume I'm gonna have to extend it. And if I don't have to extend it, that's great. I have extra for my extra long arms as well. I wish there were more like 6 feet tall designers who could then just kind of give like a little bit of perspective as to like how they manage sizing and stuff like that. Maybe I need to knit more like Scandinavian designers, because I'm pretty sure Scandinavians in general are very tall. So maybe I just need to knit more patterns from there to kind of get a more accurate read on what to expect yarn wise. But yeah, I overbuy for projects, and then if I have extra, I either make a new project or I will just save it for a blanket or de-stash later. So the next pattern that I'm going to talk about is my Matthew Pullover by Amy Shore Makes. This is a test knit for Amy. I mentioned this in my last podcast episode. I have a little bit more to show you this time. So this is the body. I have it on a really tiny cord, so obviously it's going to look a little bit distorted, but I've done, I think 16 inches of body, and now I'm splitting for the front yoke and the back yoke. So I just started working on the front yoke this morning. I am knitting this with 2 strands of Nutidin held together, and the colorway is Jera, Jera. It's this lovely pink, a very like vibrant berry pink, and it has little flecks of hot pink throughout, and it has cream, and it has a little bit of red as well. So it's a really lovely color. This is my little ball of Nutidin that I've balled up. And this is due on September, what is it due? September 12th. So today is August, what day is it today? August 10th. So I think I'll still be able to get it done on time. I'm not too concerned because this works up really fast. And the yoke is a little bit textured. I'm pulling twigs out of my project. The yoke is textured, so it'll take maybe a little bit longer than the body did because the body was just stockinette. But I'm enjoying working with this. I love working with Nutidin. Sometimes I do end up breaking my yarn because I'm tensioning too hard, but then that just gives me an opportunity to slow down and try again. And it's very easy to felt the Nutidin and join it together, so it's not a bother for me. My first Nutidin project was very hard because I was just a very tight knitter and I kept breaking the yarn like every 2 stitches. But somehow I've become a little bit more relaxed in my hands, and so it's a lot easier to knit this faster. The body did not take me too long. Like, I would just say, like, for me, I have been making these balls like every couple days, or like whenever I run out of like the balled up yarn, I just make another one. And every time I do a sitting, I'm like, I'm gonna knit until this ball is done. And then I keep going and I keep going. And it's a very soothing, fun practice of mine, because I'm just like, yeah, I like finished this much yarn and I got this much done on my project. I think I love knitting with Nujidin double stranded. It's a very satisfying knit, and also is very lightweight. You can get a lot of warmth in your Nujidin projects because they're so lightweight, but they trap a lot of air in, so it keeps you nice and toasty. Although I'm not sure if the weather and the climate in the place that I live is like really conducive to having like a lot of Nujidin garments. It doesn't stop me from still trying because I love how it feels. So that is this. Hopefully by the next episode I will be done with this, because I'm probably going to film middle of September again, and the test deadline will be done. So I should be done with this. I need to do the yoke and sleeves, but the sleeves should not take long at all. And the yoke, now that I'm in the textured part, it's like fun. So that is this one. This is my Wayfarer tee. I am knitting this out of Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the shade Rose Mouse. And this is a test knit for Woodlands Knits. And she does a lot of like designing with Nujidin or like unspun yarn, but this was, I think, one of her first summer knits, and it's a really pretty raglan. It's very simple. It's not like a crazy unique design or anything, but it's a raglan pattern, and it has nice lovely short sleeves. I already tried on the garment like after I finished the sleeves and after I finished a couple inches of the body, and it fits lovely and it drapes so beautifully. I love working with Knitting for Olive cotton merino. It feels amazing on the hands. Some people have said it has like a moisturized feeling, but I find that this is probably my favorite cotton yarn. And even though it's like cotton merino, it's still primarily cotton. If I look at the ball band, it says 70% organic cotton, 30% merino. So that's like a fair amount of cotton content in the yarn. The only thing that I have to say is that I think if I work on this for too long at a stretch, my wrists start to hurt. So for me, too long would be like 10 to 12 rows at a time. So if I'm doing 10 to 12 rows, that's probably like an hour-ish of knitting. So this is not something I can just do monogamously. I have to do it, put it down, work on something else, or work with a different fiber, and then continue again. I think it's because cotton can have a little bit more of a drag versus wool, but I have mitigated this by using metal needles, and it is very slick and easy to knit. I primarily tend to knit with metal needles just because I vastly prefer the feeling of chow goose than I do to like any wooden needle. So I've done about, I want to say I've done like 6.5 inches of the body, and she says you have to go into like 12 or 13 for full length. My plan is to do calculated yarn management and just knit until I finish all the yarn that I have. So I have this much of my third ball of yarn, and then I have a whole fourth ball of yarn. So I would like to use up everything because I do not want any of it left over. I don't mind if the t-shirt is a little bit longer. I don't mind if it's a little bit cropped. I just want all the yarn to be used up in this project. So that's where I'm at. I've finished the test requirements already. So when I signed up for the test, it was only a 3-week long test, which is generally on the much shorter side for me. I usually won't sign up for a test knit if it's that short, just because I personally feel like if you're asking someone to spend their time on a test knit, you should give them enough time to finish it. However, she only wanted the yoke, the sleeves, and like a third of the body done. And I figured I can do a yoke in like a week. I can do sleeves in like a day or two. And then the third of the body will take me like another week maximum. And I blew past that already. Like it's due in a week from, or less than a week from today. And I finished the requirements like 5 days ago. So this is a really fast knit. And if you like raglans, like this is going to be such an easy one for you to do. Now my new goal is to finish the entire project before the test deadline, but I can just write feedback whenever. I just need to keep going and see if there's any other things I need to worry about in the pattern, but it's really just stockinette, ribbing, bind off, done. So that's this. Hopefully you'll see this finished in the next one as well. And those 3 projects are what I've given the majority of my time this past month. It's been really fun working on all of these. It's been quite nice to like just have time to knit and not have to worry about like, oh, I have a dance rehearsal, I have this thing, I have that thing. Like this was the first week I've had off in like 2 months. And that's working 7 days a week. It's having like very full days of work. So it's just really amazing to kind of be able to spend my time however I want to. And right now, all I want to do is knit. I do a little bit of like housework, like cleaning my room, cleaning my closet, doing stuff like that. But most of my days for the past couple of days have just been like sitting on my couch and knitting. And it's just lovely and glorious. And I'm just enjoying it because come September, work starts again for me and it's back to the grind. So those are all my whips. And I have some upcoming plans, kind of in the vein of like my impulsiveness. I signed up for another test knit and I signed up to do a sample knit at my local yarn store. So first I'm going to talk about the test knit. It's a designer I've tested a couple of times for this year already, but I signed up for Tori Yu's new pattern. It's called, let me check what it's called. It's called the Skyline Pullover, and it's a really beautiful saddle shoulder construction. And based on the saddle shoulder I did for Hannah for like that test knit, I was like, oh, I need to do this one as well. When I saw her post it, she sent a call out to people who had tested for her before. And I think within like 10 seconds of reading through the pattern, I was like, yeah, I'm signing up for this. And so I signed up. I already knew I had yarn in stash for it, and I usually only do test knits with yarn that I don't have plans for. So that yarn that I'm going to use for this is Through the Wardrobe Yarn Company. I swear this is not an ad for her stuff, but I just end up like gravitating to all of her collections quite a lot. Selena's amazing and I talk to her a lot and she and I have like similar love of like pink and pastels and everything. So this is her colorway Sleeping Beauty. So this was also in the Brothers Grimm collection. And this one is like a bubblegum pink with a little bit of that same beigey color that's in Rapunzel and some peachy pink as well. And I don't think there's any speckling in this one. So it's kind of, oh, I see a little bit like blue speckles. So I don't know if that's like intentional or not, but this is gonna be my base yarn. And then I'm holding it with the same shade of mohair from that same collection. So this mohair is also Sleeping Beauty and it's so lovely and so shiny. So the pattern for Tori, it calls for fingering plus fluffy lace. And so the fingering is pretty spot on with what I have. And then the fluffy lace, she said she used J'adore fibers. I'm going to use this because I have this and I don't want to buy more yarn if I don't need to. So I'm planning to pair this together. It's going to be the most dreamy Barbie baby pink color. Barbie pink has been in. I've been wanting to knit pink things for a long time. Some of my stuff is already like in the vein of pastels and pinks anyways, but now I'm just like diving full in. So that is what I'm going to be knitting up next. That test knit is due in October, so I am not in a super rush to cast this on, but I would like to get started because I like to lengthen patterns and that makes me take longer on doing these things. So that's this. I'm going to do calculated yarn management for this as well because I need to make sure that I use up as much stash as possible whenever I'm doing projects. But if I have leftover, I'll have a beautiful niece who I can make some baby garments with this with. Next, the sample knit for my local yarn store. So my local yarn store is a store in Morgan Hill, California called A Pop of Color Yarns. So they changed management a few months ago. They were formerly Continental Stitch and now they are A Pop of Color Yarns. And I went to the knit night yesterday and it was really fun, really lovely. And I asked the owner if she needed sample knitters and she was like, yes, I do. And so they just started carrying this yarn. It's all caked up, so I'm gonna read the label for you. So this is Kelborn Woolens Perennial Base. So it is 60% superwash merino, 25% Surrey alpaca, 15% nylon. And this colorway is neon coral. Very, very lovely, beautiful, fun color. And I also have this yarn, which is dyed by someone I met at the knit night. Her, so what A Pop of Color Yarn is trying to do is have like an in-house yarn line. So this is Moo Fiber, and the colorway is called Hibiscus Blossom, and it is 70% mohair, 30% silk. This is going to make a floatini shawl. I'm not really a huge shawl knitter, but when I saw the pattern, I was like, this looks so interesting. So the floatini shawl is by Callie Monster on Ravelry or Monster Knits. And I printed the pattern, so this is what it looks like, but it's black and white, so I don't know if you can see it. If I remember, I'll post a photo of it next to my face. Otherwise, I will link it in the comments below. But the floatini shawl has this like cool like leaf-like design, and it has alternating stripes, and it uses like short rows and stuff to create this really cool wave effect throughout, and it's all garter. So I figured, okay, all garter and a fun visual interest of short rows and these fun neon coral and peach colors. I just think it'll be fun. It'll be fun to challenge myself. I don't think I would make this otherwise, but it'll be nice to try different techniques out. And I really wanted to try this Kelborn woolen yarn out, so I'm glad I get to try it in a sample before I actually purchase some and make something else. So they asked me to try to finish this by September 8th. That might be a little bit tight for me, but I'm gonna try my best to. I think if I can prioritize finishing my Wayfarer and my Matthew pullover this next couple weeks, this should be no problem to get done because it's just 2 skeins and it's on US 4s. So they're not like the tiniest needles. So I think it should be fine. And garter stitch ideally is a very relaxing stitch to do. So I think we can do it. And if I have days like today where I've just been like knitting all morning, I think I can definitely make some time to get it done. So those are my 2 upcoming knits. I did want to share some yarn I also acquired for another very special knit. So the next project I'm going to talk about has probably been talked about on the podcast, Ravelry, knitting Instagram groups everywhere, but I'm talking about the Tessalated Pullover / Vest by Andrea Mowry. I am an Andrea Mowry fan. However, I have not actually finished any of her patterns yet. I think it's because I picked like a behemoth of a pattern to start with, which was the Shreya cardigan. It's a lovely pattern. It's just like mentally exhausting to knit because you keep on knitting and it's like less than 1 inch. And you knit for like 2 hours and it's like maybe half an inch. I'm like, what have I been doing with my life? So I've kind of put that in timeout for right now, but I was so in love with how the Tessalated Vest looked. And I already had some Spin Cycle and Surrey that was in my stash that had no plans. And all I needed was the main color to tie it all together. So first I'm going to talk about the Spin Cycle that I have. I have this lovely green, pink, and blue colorway called Miss Me from Spin Cycle Yarns. I think I bought this in a D stash and I'm very happy that I did. I just really like the look of Spin Cycle. I find it to be so fun, so aesthetically pleasing, and it makes me want to learn how to spin yarn, but I just don't have the bandwidth to pick up another hobby at the moment. So for now, Spin Cycle will do. So this is Miss Me. I have 2 skeins of this, which is enough for the vest. So 2 of this. And then I also have this Woolberry Fiber Co. Hold on, let me just get it in a right position. So I have this Woolberry Fiber Co. Berry Surrey. This has 328 yards per 50 grams. And I got this in a yarn exchange with a friend. I could never figure out what I wanted to make with just 2 skeins of Surrey because most of the garments I do require more than like 700 yards. But in this pattern, it needs maybe like 1 skein of Surrey. I do have plans to lengthen the body as I do, so I'll probably dip into a little bit of the second one, and then whatever remains, I have a little Surrey pile starting to grow, so I can always just use it in like a scrappy project. So that is this. The colorway is called Very Woolberry. So it's like a soft, creamy pink with a little bit of bubblegum, a little bit of purple, and a little bit of like dark berry red. So that is the Woolberry colorway that I have. I think in the vest, she uses Fua Fua. I, at the time, did not want to spring for Fua Fua when I had stuff in stash. And I think these next to each other will be pretty cool. And then finally, the last colorway, which I did end up springing for, is this Moondrake and Spin Cycle collaboration. This is Moonspun. The colorway is Dark Spruce. So let me put all these colors together. This is what I'm planning my Tessalated Vest to look like. So this Dark Spruce, it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like just dark green. It's kind of like dark green with a little bit of blue in it. And the Surrey is getting all over. I shouldn't let that bother me. So all of this together, I'm hoping will create like a dreamy pinkish green themed one. And then obviously I'll need to swatch before I begin because with her gauge, it's kind of hard to tell if you need to size up or not. So that's my sometime in the fall plan. I want to say I'm done testing after the Skyline pullover and the Floatini, but I can't like trust myself. Like if I like something enough, I'm just gonna sign up for it. But I do want to finish some of these projects. I say this like every time I film. We'll see. Just like let me be. I'm just gonna be crazy and wild, and I'm just gonna sign up impulsively because test knitting makes me knit faster. I know that's like a kind of implicit thing to understand, but when you're testing, you're on a deadline, so you feel more obligated to work on that thing more. When I don't have any tests going on, yeah, I finish like a lot of old whips, but I also feel like, oh, you know what? I'm not testing anything, so let me go do this other thing. Let me go do that other thing. It's okay if I don't knit for a day, and that's fine too. But I really like feeling productive, and when I have test knits and I finish things, I feel really productive. So that's why I enjoy the test knitting process. I know at some point I'm gonna have to slow down, but right now it's working for me. So I'm gonna keep going, and my plans are just plans. Like we can always get to them later. I have a long life ahead of me to continue to knit. So that's my plan. That's it for like all the knitting content today. If you would like to stay back and listen to me talk about TV shows and just like a little bit of life, please stay tuned. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. So now we're gonna move on to what I've been watching. I have been in my anime and K-drama phase this past couple weeks. So I started with catching up with Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is one of my favorite shows, my favorite anime and manga. I read the whole comic. It's weird to say comic. I read the whole manga, and now that the seasons are starting to release, I have been watching them, and I'll probably go back and rewatch them every time a new arc comes out. So the most recent arc that has been released on the anime is the Swordsmith Village arc. Oh, what a mouthful. So the Swordsmith Village arc has been really fun. I think the English dub simulcast is almost done. The Japanese with subtitles is what I typically watch, but sometimes I'd like to watch things dubbed just because I already know what's going to happen, so I just need to like hear the dialogue. Don't at me for watching dubs. Some of the dubs are really good. Some of them are really bad. If they're really bad dubs, I just immediately switch to the Japanese audio, but I don't know. I feel like it's controversial sometimes to watch things dubbed, but I just don't have the energy always to read subtitles. That being said, I will never watch a Korean drama dubbed. My mom does that, and I like listen to her watching them sometimes, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot like pair the voice that's coming out versus the people that are speaking. So I always watch K-dramas subtitled, and I also feel like the Korean language, there's a lot of like intonations and ways that things are said where it's like, you kind of need to hear it to understand the intention of it. So the K-drama I have been watching most recently is called King the Land. It has Yuna from Sonyushide, which is a girl group, a K-pop girl group, and then it has Junho from 2PM. And that's been really cute. I wouldn't say it's like my ultimate like love story K-drama. It's fine. It's not like, so I'm like, I love romance K-dramas, and my favorite one is probably A Business Proposal, and then it's also Crash Landing on You. And those two are, in my opinion, are like so good that when I watch other romance dramas, it's kind of hard for me to feel that same like, oh my God, like feeling. And King the Land, I feel like since I have seen the two main leads in K-pop for so long, I don't believe the attraction. I know that's like a weird thing to say, but I just like don't feel the chemistry as much as I do for like other couples that I've seen in other K-dramas. I still like King the Land though, like it's really fun and it's light and it's sweet. I just think that if I'm like comparing it to other K-dramas I've seen, it's not my favorite, but that's okay. And then the other show that I was watching anime-wise is Spy X Family. Spy X Family is super lighthearted, fun as well. It's a spy drama, but like, I don't know, without giving too much away, it's about a spy who needs to make a family for a mission, and the daughter he adopts ends up being telekinetic. She can read minds, and then the wife that he finds is actually secretly an assassin, and it's like a really cute family comedy / like there's a little bit of action here and there, but it's very lighthearted. And I think it's like set around, like it says Estonia, which I'm like wondering if it's like a fictional version of like Estonia or like some like Eastern European city. So it has a lot of fun things related to that. And I like it. It's just gotten a little bit slow because I think I've hit some filler episodes. So I have like maybe 7 episodes left. I'll finish it eventually. It's light. It's not anything that I feel like I need to binge the whole thing at once. And then my husband and I, we just started watching The Sandman on Netflix. I've only seen 1 episode. And from first, I did not know anything about this show before going into it. I had never seen the comics. I never read them. I don't really know any of Neil Gaiman's work. So when we put The Sandman on, both of us were like, is this like Twilight and Harry Potter, or is this, he was like, cinematically it's giving Twilight. And I was like, well, it would have to be a lot more blue if it were Twilight, because Twilight was like just blue and green all over the screen the whole time. And then I was like, it's kind of like a little bit like dark Harry Potter, but I'm not like hooked. I like it, but I'm not like fully like into it yet. So I think we're gonna give it 1 or 2 more episodes, and if we're still not getting into it, we'll probably pivot and watch something else. We're in between a lot of TV shows, so we really don't have anything that we're watching at the moment. So what we end up doing is like he'll play Tears of the Kingdom and I'll just like knit on the couch, or vice versa. He'll watch me play Tears of the Kingdom, because we're both in like very different spots of the game. And whatever he's doing is like the opposite of what I'm doing. Like I'm advancing main plot and he is in the depths running around trying to unlock everything. So yeah, we're just like very different gamers. I'm like, I must follow the order of the things that are supposed to be done, and he's like, I'm gonna go like look at this tree, I'm gonna go shoot this thing, I'm gonna go so he's like, he does all the random stuff, and I'm like, okay, here's the plot, and he's like, oh, interesting, there is a plot to this game. So that's what we do. But if you have any TV recommendations or anything that you think we should watch, please let us know. I would say that we watch pretty much every genre except for horror. He'll watch it, I won't watch it, I get too scared. But I like horror adjacent, like psychological thrillers are okay, but anything that is like straight up scary, I'm like, no thank you. I would like to sleep well tonight. So yeah, that's it for like my TV and like media and everything. Again, I'm not reading, but I'm getting this like itch to want to read. So can anyone recommend me like a really easy read that is just like light? I don't want anything too like mentally draining. I'm okay with romance, I'm okay with quick reads, I'm okay with short stories. But I just like, I really want to read a book and just like enjoy it and not get like involved in this huge like other world or anything. Like I just want one story, self-contained, done. So if anyone has an idea of something that I could just jump back into reading wise, please let me know. And let me see. Finally, just like a little bit of life. I did mention that I'm having a little bit of a work break right now, in the sense that our busy season finished this Sunday and now I have like a couple weeks off. I'll be working, but in the sense of like I'll be doing admin type stuff, and then our school year will begin after Labor Day. I run a dance studio with my mom, and typically we take the month of August off to kind of recuperate and get ourselves ready for the new school year. So we begin after we begin after Labor Day. So right now I'm just kind of doing a little bit of like computer work every day just to get myself in a good place, but it's really not as busy as when the school year begins. So I have so much time to just kind of do whatever. And I'm enjoying my life, the remainder of summer, the beautiful weather that we're having, and just like my time. I usually don't have weekends off, so I have the next couple of weekends off. So I've just been like making plans with friends, going to the farmer's market. These are things that like I think people take for granted if you work a regular 9 to 5, but I work the opposite schedule. I work like a 5 to 9, and then I work all days on the weekends. So a lot of my socialization time happens at like odd times with my friends. So I'm really appreciative of this time that I have right now, so I can just go and do all the things that I normally don't get time to do. So I'm just in a very happy place right now because I just have all this like free time and just no responsibilities. So it's great. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope it was a pick-me-up in your day or whatever it may be. And I look forward to seeing you guys in about a month, maybe less. I don't know. I'm not going to stick to a schedule, but if you liked this, if you want more content from me, please leave a comment, and please find me on Instagram It's stitched by Shreya. You're welcome to follow me and start a conversation there as well. Have a good one. Bye.